So, hello, and can you guys hear us? Someone say yes in the comments.
Well, or don't say yes.
I think we should just sit and move our mouths.
What are you doing?
All right.
Hey.
Thanks, Sarah.
So, I see that the first couple comments in there are comments about carbide. And will Mark touch on carbide? Of course, I will touch on carbide because that's all I use. As the other question came up, someone said that we'll just say not as good at sharpening. So I agree with you on carbide on that one. I will do all my turning tonight as I do all my turning in general with carbide tools. I am a huge carbide guy. And for the one who said that carbide isn't really turning, I don't care what you say. I love my carbide tools. John, you use carbide, right?
Yeah, I do. I use
them
everything.
both.
Yeah, I use pretty much everything.
Carbide is particularly useful if you're trying to turn something very dense and hard. Animal bone.
Yep.
It's really nice, and true stone, faux stone, any of those things that fight back pretty good. Carbide will be much easier than a skew. And as most of you know, I will use the skew for 95% of my turning.
So, and I'm going to show tonight why, for me, carbide is the only tool that I use on platter making. Because when I'm going to start to do some of those Roman OGs and stuff like that, the round tool just really cuts it out well for me. And this first little piece that I'm going to talk about is all done with carbide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're very useful tools. And the nice thing about them, if you're learning how to turn, they're extremely simple. And with the negative rake available, they also solve a wealth of problems for turning things like plastics. It's certainly possible to turn them with high-speed steel, but it's certainly a lot easier to turn them with carbides.
Well, and under full disclosure, I do demo all the time for Easy Wood turning tools.
Right.
I love my carbide tools.
Right. But you turned with high-speed steel before you started with carbide.
I did. I got it down to where I was doing all my finished cuts with skew and everything else. Yep. I just find that, now as production, I'm a lot quicker at doing it the way that I do it.
Yeah, they can be fast, depending on which tool you're using. But any other comments and questions?
Thank you, Dean. That's the perfect reply. Tell them they're not real turners if they don't use basically a trundle lathe.
So the axle off my truck isn't well enough to mount the wood to?
It should work fine.
Okay.
So what was the question about? There was a question up there about using carbide for turning the aluminum. Where was that one?
There's a couple of chairs over there if you want to sit down, Randy.
No, that's all right. I opened that.
So Harold, it said that you used them when turning aluminum because I said it would work. Did it work for you? I like that. Oh, and look at that. Marcus plenty loud. Okay. And yes, Harold, I use that block all the time for doing a lot of stuff. If I'm doing anything where I'm going to be, bending something around the brass tube, like watch face parts or any of that kind of stuff. Bottle caps are another one that I use it for.
Of course, there's always that awkward silence when we're trying to read the chat.
Yeah, especially some of the longer questions.
Yeah.
For those of you who are trying to figure out what we're doing, the chat is the distance away from us is just far enough that on a good day, one of us can read it. So every time we stop and look, that's because all three of us are trying to figure out what was said.
Yeah, of course. Not the guy squinting over here.
No,
he's
got it under control.
Yeah.
Good news is Mark has the best vision of anybody, so he'll be able to answer the questions as he goes along.
So what was our demo last month?
Done.
What was it?
Yeah, it was done.
We don't have to know what it is.
I just wondered if anybody used it. Anybody has done any of the projects that we
I
talked
draw a
about?
blank. I've been so busy this month. I
Was it
forget
Pepper
what I
Mills?
did.
What was it?
Was it Pepper Mills?
Was it Pepper
No.
Mills last month? I think
No.
Pepper Mills was a couple
Okay.
months. Oh, hybrid blanks.
Hybrid
Hybrids,
blanks.
You
yeah.
did a lot. You
Yeah.
did a lot with hybrid blanks
Yeah.
and turning hybrid
Yeah.
blanks. Anybody turn any?
Oh, somebody told us too. Hybrid
Yeah.
blanks. I can read it now.
Yep, hybrid blank start to finish was what called.
Okay.
Good. Good.
Scroller Bill says he can't wait to see us in Nashville. So I apparently, John, that there will be someone coming into to the Powermatic.
Nice.
Yeah. Good news. You're not going to be there entertaining each other.
So I talked to the gentleman in charge. He says that he thinks it will sell out.
Cool.
So that'll be good.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's 2 days too, isn't it?
It's
3.
2.5, 3. We're going to do 3.
3's optional for them. They want whatever they want to do.
But it's the same people for 3 days.
I think
Yes.
that's how it works. Yes. I think the first day they'll do a whole bunch of right. We've kind of worked out the schedule.
Yeah.
But the first day they'll do a lot more in casting. I might talk a little bit about pen making, and then the second day, some of the blanks that they've done, either pen blanks or peppermill blanks or ice cream scoops, any of that stuff.
Okay.
We'll probably talk a little bit about B-certs and working with B-certs and things like that.
Mhm.
And
What do you got?
I might even talk a little bit about making some of the peppermills and how we do it with bushings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Here comes the important part. Prizes.
Ooh.
All the giveaways.
Who's our guest off camera?
We have Randy Henderson, one of our local pickup people, who has joined us, and he's observing. Randy is a retired teacher from Racine Lutheran High School.
Teaching the
And
4-H kids now.
now he's he's always been very active in 4-H, but because he has, like John, retired people don't have anything to do. And
Right.
so he's another one of those retired people with absolutely nothing to do. So he's active in 4-H again.
See, what he didn't know is we're actually taking these headsets off, giving them to him. He's taking the demo over tonight. He's going to be talking about turning plates and platters, and take it away.
Surprise!
Oh, yeah, thanks. I think I'll leave now. I just came to pick up an order, and I forgot until I saw Mark's truck here, or John's truck.
That's mine.
Yeah.
Mark's truck. So
Yep.
Locals
Well, I was
are
just
always-
curious because I heard a voice off camera and I was tempted, if it wasn't for the fact that Ed or Dawn might be angry about a messy background, I was going to turn the camera to see who the heck it was.
No, don't do that.
I can't hear him.
Oh, Dawn's over there. Even more reason to turn the camera.
Dean was going to rotate the camera.
Oh, I'm leaving.
Dawn left.
Nice.
Hey, Dean, when you get the comment, you see that you're getting some feedback when you talk.
I'll go get your order.
That's
all
good.
right,
to
I
know.
got paid for you.
I know.
I think it's because you can hear yourself on the TV or something, I would bet.
Yeah, I think we can faintly hear you over here.
Oh, fine.
Yes, I can hear him faintly when he talks.
Yeah.
I can hear him in my headset and on the thing.
So
Are we
don't
sure
talk
the TV's turned all the way down?
TV's down. I don't know about the monitor.
I think it sounds better now.
Weird.
Doesn't matter if we are.
So, any other comments, questions for the comment section?
No, looks
No,
good.
Well, that's good.
All right. We'll see
So-
you guys. See you guys in about an hour.
All right, have fun.
I'll take off. Is this the part where we flip a coin to see who's talking? Who's doing the demo
You
tonight?
got it.
Oh, okay.
You won. We used the 3-headed coin, and you won.
It's your turn. We've neglected you the last couple, so it's your turn. Anything you want to bring up before we get started, Ed?
Not really. This has been a fairly active time frame. So yeah, there have been a lot of questions, but none of them that I think are very universal. As usual, I guess if I was asked what did we have most often this week, it would be try reading the instructions. Anytime you have a problem with pen kits. One thing I guess I could mention, we've had a couple of people call now, and over the years, when we used to have the junior gent, the junior gent was originally sent to you as pieces.
Yeah.
And there was nothing that was put together. It was all individual pieces. And then people started saying that their pen did not, once they assembled the pen, the cap did not go on properly. In other words, the threads on the plastic piece were screwed up, and they've already put the pen together. The plastic piece is the reason that they had the problem, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the manufacturers became a little smarter, and they started shipping them to us with the nib inside the center band already screwed together. Therefore, you know that those threads are fine.
Mm-hmm.
When you get the kit and the instructions don't show the picture of the two pieces screwed together, you need to figure out that if you take the two ends and turn them opposite each other, it will unscrew those two pieces. And that has become an area of some concern. Additionally, this week I got one guy that showed me pictures of two of the plastic inserts, the black insert, and the one was perfect, and the other one was indeed really screwed up. And he said that it came to him that way. You see, the problem is they were screwed together when you got it. So those threads were fine when you started. When you put them into the pen and your press did a number on them, that's not something that's controllable by the manufacturer or me. You need to pay attention to how much effort you put into putting that piece in and make sure that you don't scrunch it. That's a technical term.
I always, if it's okay to interrupt,
Sure.
I mean, I always take a minute. And John, I know you've used a knife. A lot of times I'll use a rat file. I'll just knock it off. And if I can't seat it with my finger and get it in far enough, you'll see when you seat it in. If you give it just enough pressure with your finger, it should seat in there for you. And when you put it in your press, it should go straight. If it's not seating in there,
Yeah.
I think that would be the primary reason that I think people would have that issue.
Well, one other thing
maybe
that
build up in the tube,
that they've done now that's not so smart is that they the manufacturer or whoever's writing the instructions, which is us, have indicated that you might want to put a little bit of adhesive on the back of that black piece. I'm not sure I like that idea.
I put Loctite.
Yeah, if
Put blue
anything,
Loctite on it. That way, it just keeps it from sliding up the barrel.
Yeah, well, if you do it and you're not real neat, I think what happened to this gentleman, I think he pushed that glue up so far that he had a bit of glue that he couldn't get rid of. That was at the far end, right at the screw-in section. So, long story short, if you're going to use an adhesive, I agree completely with John. Use blue Loctite.
Yeah.
It
It wipes off easy. It won't stain anything if you get it on the outside of your pen sets or, the plating or the blanks.
and it won't glop up inside if you get it,
No.
and you
And
can't get it on the threads.
You don't even need a full drop. You just need to see it on there, and it's enough to hold it.
Yeah, do not ever use CA when you're dealing with your components and putting them in. Reason for that is CA off gases. And the CA, when it off gases, particularly around gold or golden or whatever it is these days, it can turn that piece white. Now, most of the time, that will come off just with a rag and you can get it off. The problem is that that's what happens most of the time. The time that it doesn't happen is the time that you're really unhappy with it, because it can leave a white mark on your plating, and it is not attractive. So if you're going to put any kind of adhesive on anything dealing with your pen, any plating, do not use CA. you will save yourself a lot of grief. Now, you can use epoxy for a lot of this stuff. If you're putting in parts and you want to make sure they don't come out, you
But-
can use epoxy.
Sorry.
But if you get it on a clear cast,
I need to
it's
interrupt 1 second.
still-
There was literally a spider now right sitting in front of my face. It's coming down. So
You
there's
want to
this.
see what's happening?
There's just a little spider just sitting right in front of my
Oh,
face.
that's a hummingbird.
Is that what it is? Okay, but it's small.
So yes, we have a little distractions just to keep Mark entertained.
Yeah.
And it's now 6 o'clock, so we can start doing something worthwhile. So let me open by, as usual, saying thank you to all of you for attending, and to Dean for taking care of all the production of these things as he always does, waving in the corner. Thank you, Dean. And as usual, it's John and Mark are here, and we're just pleased as heck to have them here. Now, this one I think is kind of interesting. You talk about how do we pick topics for these things. Somewhere along the line, about 3-4 weeks ago, somebody said, you've done a lot of stuff with turning between centers. You don't do anything about what else can you do with the lathe. So conversation ensued, and we said, well, it'd be kind of interesting if we could do something with platters or something related to platters. Now that immediately meant not me, because I don't do platters. I do turn between centers types of stuff with spindles. And John Cass. So we both looked at each other and said, I wonder if Mark's ever done this. And contacted Mark, and he said, well, I've done 1 or 2. And when you see the performance tonight, you're going to find out that when Mark says 1 or 2, he forgets a couple of zeros. So yeah, he is quite adept at doing these, and the pieces that we've seen are really very good and very nicely done, and it will give you an idea of what else you can do with a Midi lathe. Obviously, we only have so much room between the center and the ways, so you're not going to make huge platters. But by the same token, turning between centers, not turning the head around so that you're on the front side and all that jazz, but just turning between centers, Mark has put together a really interesting demonstration. So I hope everybody enjoys it as much as I intend to.
Well, and the thing about this is going to be you're going to see that you have 75% of the tools already for what I'm going to do.
Sure.
You have all the technique that I'm going to talk about. You'll have all that stuff down, and you'll see that this is how a pen maker would do it. And then the second step in the demo is kind of the fun part of pen making, right, John? Is getting creative and taking it just from a plain piece of wood and doing something different.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of where I'm going to take it today. At least I'm hoping to.
Well, why don't you get started?
So as always, if you have any questions, I would definitely prefer them to come up on the side. I will try to answer everything and get everything there. Couple things, if it's okay, before we get into it, and I might mention this at breaks too. There are a couple activities I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of. John Underhill and I will be in Nashville August 7th, 8th, and 9th with Powermatic, and it's going to be basically a 3-day intense. There's 22 lathes. You'll do some turning. You'll do some casting. You'll be making projects out there. And then we have said that we're going to stay Sunday, and there will be a good 4 to 5 hours on Sunday that we're going to be there. Just answer any questions or comments, or if you have advice for us, giving us advice on that one. So we have worked out a good deal with Powermatic, and if you use the code, and Dean, if you could put this in the comment at the end, AAWCL26, between now and June 30th when you sign up, I think it's going to be 10% off. You'll get 10% off the pricing on that event. So it's going to be down in Nashville. It's a Friday, Saturday, and most of the day Sunday. Another couple little book items, but this one's always going to be fun. It's my favorite. April 16th and 17th next year, 2027, will be the MPG. And this is yet to be said. I've only told one person this other than Ed, Don, myself, John, and Donna, is that we are moving locations. we have an opportunity to go to a bigger location. So we're going to actually have classes at the event. So you'll be able to, we're going to run some classes, possibly in casting. We're talking about it. One of the things that I ask is if you wouldn't mind sending an email to sales@exoticblanks.com with ideas for topics or classes that you'd really like to see us work. Yes, Harold, we are starting early on it, but it's just because we're going to be doing some new stuff, and we would really, really, really like to get some ideas for what you guys are going to be wanting. Has anybody thought about a turning cruise? Well, that would be a lot of fun. So if you have any information, it'll be closer. It's a little bit closer to O'Hare Airport. So if you're flying in, you'll have that right there. As I said, I'm looking forward to it, and we're just talking about some really cool ideas. The last one, this one's going to be also a little bit selfish. I will be in Raleigh, North Carolina next weekend with the AAW, and I will be teaching an area that I've been doing for the last maybe 3 years. There's a learn to turn area in the corner, and it'll be in the vendor area, and you can come in and make a pen. So I know with everybody here, you really don't need a lot of help making pens, but you know what? I would really love it if you could come in and help others make their pens. So if you wouldn't mind stopping over in my area, if you're going to be at the event in Raleigh, you can also email me questions exactly about the event, but it's a spectacular event. It's in Raleigh. John, you were a demonstrator there last year. Anything you want to say about the event in general?
It's just a great time. There's so many things going on, so you've got a lot of options, and you meet a lot of people. So it was a lot of fun.
So that's the AAW next weekend. If you have a chance, come on out, stop by, see me, have some fun with me, and more than anything, help me out.
You know what? I bet that feedback is that fan cooling the computer.
You want to kill it?
Yeah. I think it's on the bottom.
Oh.
Hey, you went
I'm
quieter.
not convinced it's anything other than Sarah, because nobody else has complained, and I just watched the video and I don't hear it.
Okay.
Better.
So we did knock out the fans that are behind. All right. So unfortunately, I like to stand. So I'm going to be standing next to you guys at this point. But
We're gonna go.
We're gonna let you do it
get
all
something to
night.
eat, and then we're gonna,
we talked about a couple of trips to.
so this all started out with Dawn having a new component set that she wanted me to play with. And it was kind of fun. She didn't give me any instructions with it. And it's this triple tier platter. And she said she just got this thing. I don't remember the price on it. But for those of you who are staying, it's going to be the first giveaway. We're giving away 3 of these sets of just the platter parts. And she said, what could you do? And so, with me, I don't want to just take a normal piece of wood or do something. I wanted to, as Emerald would say, kick it up a notch. And I went to Menards.
Let's let you have the whole section.
What's this called? Acacia.
wood.
Is it a finger jointed redwood?
No, this is acacia.
Oh, okay.
And it's just glued. It's press glued together. And I got this board. It was whatever it is this way by 4 feet tall. It was $10. And so you can see then I was able to draw my lines on here, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But it was how I made this tiered little system. And if you're new to turning, or you're new to turning anything that's non-pen related, I'll show you what I wound up doing was using tools and techniques that we had previously done, right? So without any instructions, I'll tell you this. I decided that I wanted to do something a little bit proportional. And so, oh, look at that. Wait, no Spectraply. Yep, I love Spectraply. So I wanted to do something proportional. So I did an 1.5 inch break on every one of these. 5.5, 7, 8.5 on my base. And you can see the cool thing about this was, this literally, I did this whole thing in probably no more than 10 to 15 minutes. So I just took my board, I took a compass, and I drew a circle, and I went to my bandsaw and I cut it out rough. I had kind of a rough cut for this one. And then I did the middle tier and I did the bottom tier. And I thought, well, you know what? Without instructions, how am I going to put this together? So anybody, I'll look in the comments. This is going to be one of our first giveaways. Anybody want to guess what the hole is that I used to drill this in? 7mm. Why? Because we all have a 7mm bit. And I decided, okay, if I drill this in with a 7mm bit, this is going to work. Then I wound up, when I put this on top of it, I thought to myself, it would be nice not to see this little piece of hardware that's here. And you could, it would be fine if you did see this little piece of hardware here, but I wanted to push it out so that when I put it together, you wouldn't see the hardware no matter where you were looking at it. So I just drilled a hole here, and the hole was 1 1/16". Why did I pick 1 1/16"? For two reasons. The 1 1/16 is the drill bit that we all have from doing the pepper mills and the pepper mill demo we did a couple months ago. And then the other thing about it is, I love to use this chuck. And Dean, switch to this camera, thanks. So this is the Barracuda CSC 500K chuck. 90% of all my turning, I'm going to be using an Easy Wood chuck. I love Easy Wood tools. I love the Easy Wood chuck. But on something like this, and I was going to do something real small, and I just wanted to do something as an entry level for everybody else. Well, you can see here my jaws were small enough that I can take this. All I did was take this piece, make it semi-round on my bandsaw. Can you see the piece on there? All I wound up doing then was taking my tool, rest here, taking my square cutter, Easy Wood square cutter, putting it right on there and squaring off the piece so that when I bandsaw cut it, it might have been a little bit bigger, it might have been a little bit smaller, that's fine. But now I got it completely round. And then I wanted to give it this little bit of recess just to give it something to look at. So you can see here, all I wound up doing was taking my tool rest, turning it that way and that way. And can you see now when I put my Easy Wood tool in here, I just put it in just a hair and stepped it over all the way down. You can use the round cutter. You can use any of the cutters you want. But all I did was I stepped it over, stepped it over, stepped it over till I got to the center. And I did that for all three of my platters. This was the smaller platter. Then I did it for the mid-sized platter. And then I did it for the bigger platter. And then the finish on it, I'm sure everybody can guess of what finish I put on it. Yes, I put on lacquer shot. So the question comes up, Ed, will you be getting any more of the flat tool rests in?
Yes.
So the answer there, John, is yes, we will be doing, I apologize for that.
You're fine.
Yes, there will be more on the tool rest. And as I said, so I don't remember exactly how much, what the charge is that Dawn's asking for these things on here.
I don't know either.
But the wood alone probably only cost me about $10 to do the wood. And I think it was $10 for the whole board. So it's $5 because I can get two of these systems out of here for, and this is, John, you said it was acacia. So the wood is acacia. And as it was brought up, you can see here it was already edge glued for me on here. So I already had it all edge glued and I just had to round it. I will warn you that after you turn this, take 1 second and kind of make sure that edge glue is still good. When I did take one of my pieces out, the middle piece, after I cut it round, part of it you could see just kind of snap. So I just had to glue it up and then reclamp it back in. But this is a great little project. You can see that I can make tons of this stuff. And anytime I get invited to a party, which unfortunately nobody ever invites me to a party, but let's say theoretically if I was ever invited to a party, you can see that this is kind of cool. And you can adjust the depth on here and do anything you want and maybe make it a candy dish. You can do whatever you want. Sorry, Johnny.
Can I borrow that when I go to my next party?
Oh, you can. You know what? You can have this. So
Okay.
when you guys invite John to a party.
Okay.
So I did take the added step is when I do put it together, I try to get the boards to all line up the same way as the way that I got the handle. But does anybody have any questions on this one? This was such a very simple, easy project. If you're trying to get into doing any kind of non-pen related stuff, these things literally turned around and I put my indent in here because I was making the bottom flat already. It was no more than I'm going to say 15 minutes from start of this project to end of this project. So Anthony C, yes, I will be at the AEW. I talked about that a little earlier. I'll talk about it again in the middle. How deep is the large hole? That's an excellent question. So how deep is the large hole? And I will tell you this, it's about halfway through the board. So this board is 3/4, so I did 3/8. I did about a 3/8 inch hole on here.
Talk about the threading a little bit that we adjusted for. The fact that the threading only goes so far. Say
Yes. Okay. Excellent question. Excellent point, Ed. So one thing that I do want to make sure that Ed points out is that if you look at this, and I'll try to go a little bit closer to the camera here, is if you look at it, while it is threaded all the way up here, there is a little bit on some of these, a little bit of play that it pushes down. So it's tapered. So make sure that when you do it, you want to make sure that you do have enough here so that that tapered screw that's on there will catch on it before you have it.
You want about 1/4 of an inch or 3/8 of an inch showing over the top of your piece of wood.
So I don't know if you heard that Ed suggesting 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch.
Which looks like it'd be about half the thread.
Yeah, about half,
Yeah.
about halfway through. For that. Oh, sorry, Anthony, if I got that wrong. No, Exotic Blanks will not be at the at the AAW this year. But what do you guys think? I mean, write me in the comments. I think it's a great little project. I think it looks great. I can imagine being this done as a hostess gift or giving it to anybody. It's not a lot because I've used a flat board on here. The biggest thing about it is picking out, as everybody always says, pick out a piece of wood that's something that'll excite you. I originally was going to go to Home Depot when I picked this out, or sorry, Menards when I got this wood, and I was going to buy maple. And I thought, well, maple is going to be great because maple, then I can talk about some of my coloring techniques that we're going to talk about doing tonight and everything else. But this wood just popped out in front of me, and I thought, this is really a nice little project board to do exactly something different. And then, as I said, 2 coats of shellac is the finish on it. I let it sit overnight. Then I use lacquer shot on it. And I probably owe it a little bit of 4/0 steel wool, but I wanted you to get an idea of what it looks like with absolutely no extra work. Oh, there you go. Bradley had a great one. I can see using one of those at a show to show off some of your products and stuff like that. You could another thing that you could do with something like this is you could make them bigger and you could put holes in here.
Yep.
And you could put product in here. That's a great idea, Bradley. Thanks for letting me have it, and I'll steal it.
Screw hooks on the outside, make it a necklace holder.
Screw hooks on the out. There you go. Another one. Screw hooks on the outside. We can make it into a necklace holder. So I'll offer this up as a challenge for next month if anybody decides that they're going to pick this thing up and try it. I think it's a great little project. I think there's so many things that you could do with it. And you know what? I would also tell you, I know Dean has been trying to do this on occasion. If you do this and you try to do something new, send pictures to Exotic Blanks, sales at Exotic Blanks, and we'll see what we can do about getting them posted, or if not getting them posted, at least letting them be the intro to next month's demonstrator.
I think they could pair it up with a Lazy Susan on the bottom too. That way, they'd be able to spin it.
Mm-hmm.
There's another great idea. So John said that you could pair this up instead of doing the flat little bottom that they recommend on here, pairing it up with a Lazy Susan on bottom, and you'd have something that spins. So I think I agree with everybody here. I think there's a ton of stuff that you can do with this one. I like where Dawn was going with it, and I hope Dawn. I know she's watching in seclusion in the back room. I hope she's happy with what we're doing with this one. How about a hybrid platter? There should be an easy flat round mold. You can do that with any of this stuff. John, you can do this with any kind of flat mold and stuff like that.
I mean, any kind of you could make a mold out of 3D filament or just a scrap wood covered with tape.
So I don't know if you guys can hear it on that one, but John has taught, I think last time he was there, he taught this too, is making temporary molds out of 3D. So you can print your 3D and put that in there, and then cut your pieces in there. Obviously, you want to make them just a hair bigger than your finished product. So then this way you can round it off and make it perfect. And then what was your other one?
Scrap wood.
Scrap woods.
Plexiglass. I mean, it all works.
Treasure Mate says that they might try a wood dyeing project with it. That's an excellent lead into the next part of the projects, Treasure. So thank you for that one. So if there's no more questions on this one, I'm going to start to move over into, when Dawn asked me to do this, we talked about just doing platters in general and maybe talking a little bit more about how I do my platters and my platter work. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm going to be reading the questions as I got them. Harold also points out, this one's kind of cool, that he's been using the centers out of his 3D filament spools to use as small bowl molds.
Yeah.
That's an excellent one.
Yeah, I keep all mine. I got a box full, and you just line them with clear tape.
And he says, all thanks to Jen.
Yeah. Yeah. Cheap is good, free is better. You already paid for it.
Isn't that the truth? All right, so I'm going to do a little something different today. I'll see how much turning I'm going to get to. We'll see. I've got a whole lathe set up here. And Dean, if you want to go back to the front camera. There we go. I've got the whole lathe set up. I can do some turning. I brought my Easy Wood chalks. I'll probably just set everything up, show you how I would do it. And then I want to talk about some techniques for design. And then after that, we'll figure out whether you want to see me playing with some different kind of patterns that we can put on platters, or what we're going to do. So I'm going to be flat out honest with you. I learned my platter techniques from Jimmy Clues. I was able to take a class years ago with Jimmy. Turned out it was a one-on-one class out in Vegas, and I learned a lot of technique. Little known thing that I was Jimmy's web developer. I ran his website for about a year for him. And I put some of these techniques on his website. So all this stuff, all of this web, the platter design is compliments of Jimmy. So let's talk a little bit about how I do a platter in a bowl or any of this stuff. So if I take a look at, let's take a look at something simple. This is a real simple little platter that I did. It's a small piece of wood. I think it's maybe 8 inches around. And I evaluate all the time what I did right, what I did well, what I like on it, and what I didn't like on it. So if you look at the back, I think the foot is pretty close to being appropriate. It looks like it's large, but for what I wanted it, when I lay it on the table, I wanted it to still be stable. So the foot looks a little large, but for what I was doing with it, I'm fine. Then the next thing you always have to consider is your rim and your rim size. So this is kind of a small piece, probably more for utility. I'll have it up on a table for little candies in there. You can give it to your wife for jewelry, things like that. The next one, which is basically the same piece of wood, same kind of concept, right? Roman Oji on the back. A nice little recessed groove so I can hold it in my chuck. But you can see here, I made the rim a lot wider than this one. Why? Because this one's going to be more for functionality or design. So I might do something with this platter or this rim. So let's take a walk over to how we do the layout and the design of a bowl. So Dean, can we go to that third camera? So when I get a block and a piece of wood, such as this one, let's see, where's my camera? I'll simply think about what I want to do. So if I take, let's see if I draw here. That's my block of wood from a side profile, right? That's this piece of wood sitting right there. So what I need to do is I first need to figure out when I'm going to chuck it up, how am I actually going to turn it? How am I going to get my Roman Oji? And I always, always, always go backwards. So Dean, can we go back to the front camera? So I'm going to take my piece, I'm going to round it off on my lathe, but I'll first, because I like to just make it easier on myself, I'll take it to my bandsaw and I'll kind of get it a little bit round. And then I'll figure out where I'm going to put this center hole. And I've got a great guide that mounts it up here and figures out where that center hole is going to be for me. But all I'm doing is trying to figure out where that center hole is going to be so that I can mount it up on my lathe. And so let's actually mount this piece up on the lathe. I'm looking if anybody has any questions or comments, please put them in the side. But now I'm going to go to my favorite chuck. I only use my Easy Wood chuck for doing any of this stuff. And you can see I've got jaws on it, so I am going to pop the jaws off of it. I know there's some contests that they have where people have actually popped these jaws off in like 30 seconds and put on my other jaws. Oops. So, I've got my worm drive here. And I'm simply going to use the speed ring on this, put this in, put my speed ring back on, and close it up. Everybody, that makes sense? All right, so someone noticed that I have a can of soda sitting on the top. So now I want to do, and I know people do this all the time. I know that I need a 7mm hole in here for when I'm going to be doing this one. And I've seen people do it by hand. And I think the problem when you do something like this by hand is you might get a little bit of a wobble on it, depending on where you're going. And it makes it harder to get it to face off on my chuck. So what I'll do is I'll take it over to my drill press and I'll actually put the 7-meter hole in on my drill press. But then, where are my... Now the thing about it is, I'm not going to drill the hole all the way through. So in this case, I drilled the hole. This is my face. This is the finished piece on the face. This is going to be the bottom, and I'm going to work on that. So what I do is I've got a whole bunch of pre-drilled shims sitting here, or spacers, that are just simply different pieces of plywood that I can take and I can spin it on here. I can take bigger ones that have a little bit bigger hole, spin it on there, just to get it to where I want it. So I know that that hole for where I'm going to put this piece on there. And I'm not going to go through and chuck the whole thing up because I'm most likely not going to turn this today. But all I'll do is I'll get it all there. The nice thing about this is, so now I know how much thread that I have left over. And so I'll just simply take this piece here, slowly get it to catch in. I had it last night. And then I pulled it off. I think I'm having a hard time getting it to catch back in. Yeah, give me 1 second.
Just take off one spacer.
Yep. And I want to double check something. I think I know what I did wrong. You can use the tap. I bet you I did something more obvious wrong. Yes, I did. I put my worm drive in the wrong way.
That'll make it hard.
So now you'll see.
You want the wood thread side out.
Yep. Oh no, the nice thing about this worm drive, it's got two different threading patterns on it. And so there you go. So now I'll put in this one. I'll put in the one that actually takes the 7 mil, and there you go. It's screwing right on, no problem. And I do want to make sure that it seats up. And you can see it. I over tighten always. That's just me. I make sure that I have it on there real nice. And so I've got it on there and I'm ready to go. So now what I need to do is, you know what? I'm going to do it on here and I'm going to mark it on here for you guys. So I know where my center is going to be. And I know that beforehand, when I'm going to put this together, I know how far my chuck expands. And let's just say here, on the bottom here, I know exactly how far my chuck is going to expand. And my expansion chuck, I don't know if, can you catch that? Yeah, if I move it back here. There we go. That's my expansion chuck, but I'm not going to use that one. I like to use this set of jaws. So that's the beauty of this. Here's the beauty of, you know what, I'm going to do this as if I forgot. But if I forgot what that hole is on this chuck, the nice thing about this chuck is I can simply unscrew this, pull that completely out, snap a jaw in, snap another jaw in, and measure this. This is the distance that I need for the inside of my jaws. Now, here's the I will say, kind of the most controversial thing that I'll talk about tonight is I can't live without a set of calipers like this one. And if you notice, what I use is calipers that are millimeters as opposed to inches. I don't use the American standard on here. I love a caliper that has millimeters. Why? Because we're going to do a lot of heavy math coming up. And if you're doing the math on here, you're going to find that it's easier to do math than converting things over into 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch, any of that kind of stuff. It's easier to just do the math on here. So notice how easy that was. Even if I made the mistake of not having measured that up in advance on this chuck, and then I can just use my speed ring, put it back in, lock it back in. Turn it back on there. And you'll see I'm tightened in. I'm perfect on there, and I'm really, really tight. So I know that in this case, it's 50 millimeters is the jaws that I'm going to use on here. I don't know if you guys can see that on here, but 50 millimeters. Now I know I've seen people do this all the time, and I'm just not as big a fan on doing it with the lathe on and you using one end and pointing it and stuff like that. I can simply take my chuck, spin it up over here, press it in, give me a little bit of an indent. So I know that's the center of where my bottom is going to be, right? And I will then, I know that I'm doing 50, so if I put this at 25, and I mark here, and I mark here, 25, mark there, and mark here. And then when I take my jaws, my tool rest over to it, I'll probably go just a hair outside of that. So I know now that's my inner cut, right? That's the thing that I'm going to use to do the recess. So because I don't want to do a lot of turning here, I would simply take my tool rest up to here, lock it down, lock this down, and you do it just the opposite of mine. I'll keep the handle on the other side of this for me, the little adjusting handle on the other side, because then it's nowhere near the piece when I've got that going. And so I'll recess this, and I'll simply use my square tool. So I'll cut it in using my square tool, making sure that I'm cutting on the center line where I've got it, and I'll press that in. Now, the question is going to be, though, we're using a dovetail jaw. And can you go back to the front for just, or no, leave it right there. Let's see if I got this. So if you notice, yeah, there you go. On the dovetail jaw, it's got a little bit of a dovetail or a taper, right? It's coming in at an angle. So I've got two options, right? I can use my Easy Wood tool, and I use the point tool, and I'll come in at this angle, and I'll give myself a little bit of a relief into it so that I'll have that really nice corner on there so that the dovetail can suck it in. Or I do have a tool that I did long time ago. This tool. And it's basically a scraper. It's a dovetail scraper that I have that I can, when I'm turning in here, I'll use my square tool, square it all off, then put this in and pull it towards me just a little bit. And you'll see that that will then give me that dovetail so that when I actually mount this up and suck it in, I'm going to be fine. So do we have any questions on anything so far? Well, that's good. Hopefully everybody's listening. And then what I'll do is I got to figure out what that leg is going to be, or how big my leg is basically going to be on here. So if I look at here, and I might just put my marker down here, and I say, okay, that's going to be my foot. I've got about that amount of place to put my foot on here. And so I'll turn this now. I'll take my square tool, and I will push in just a little bit, and then I'll clear all this out. from here to here, I'll clear all that out, just whatever the depth is that I want it. Now, two things I want to make sure that I really, really stress on here is, remember, this is a dovetail, right? So I want to make sure that on my foot, if I look at the foot of this plate here, that I have it, that this dovetail, the piece on the outside, is about half the depth of the inside cut. Why do I do that? Because when I use my expansion jaws into it, I want to make sure that that jaw is not just catching on this little bit of meat, it's catching on all the meat that's sitting behind it. So if that makes sense, so if I turn this in and I make this like 4 millimeters as my depth on the inside, then my foot is 2 millimeters. Or to think of it the other way around, if I want to do something where I get a nice 2 or 3 millimeter foot on here, then I'm going to double that for whatever I make that depth on the inside of this. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. I'm trying to watch the comments on here. So then that way, when I use my expansion chuck and I want to expand into here, I'm not pressing just on this little piece of wood that's sitting here. I'm pressing on all the meat that's sitting behind. So hopefully that makes sense. And then the fun part now is we're going to make that Roman ogee. And let's take a look at what measurement I have here. So I've got, turns out, I couldn't have done this better, is I've got 60 millimeters for the space from here to here. And remember, we're going to do that Roman ogee. And I assume you're familiar with router bits or something like that. But we're going to have a piece that sways from here, and it's going to, that's an over dramatization. But that's what we're going to want it to look like. So Dean, can we go back to the third board? Thank you. I feel like I'm a teacher teaching class today. So the first,
you'd have to change all the cameras yourself.
yeah. So in essence, that's what we got on the lathe right now, right? We've made that cut. I've pretended that I made that cut that's in there. Obviously, this would be a little bit straighter, right? And so now what I want to do is I want to make that foot. So I'll cut this. I'll make this up here. And hopefully this makes sense, right? So now I've made that foot on here. And obviously we're going to round this off. We're going to make it look a little bit better. But whatever this distance is here, X, man, do I sound like a teacher. This is 2x, right? So I have some depth on there so that when I've got my jaws in here and the jaws are pushing this way, they're pushing onto something that has a little bit more. Sorry, I did that backwards. They're pushing onto something that has a little bit more meat. Right? This is 2x over here, and this is x out here. Does that all make sense? Yep. Thank you, Pamia, that I had it backwards. I caught it just a little bit. TBC, there might be a test on this one. It'll be kind of fun. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of erase this and show you how to do it real clean. All right, so that's it, over dramatized, and this is a dovetail cut in here, so my jaws will fit in. That's the beauty of the easy wood chuck. You're gonna get your jaws, and as I said, the pressure now when I've got my jaws in here, it's gonna be pushing into meat. So now we said that this is 60 millimeters, and we want to do a Roman ogee, right? So what I do on my piece is I take whatever this measurement is and I divide it by 3. So what's this divided by 3? 20 millimeters. So what I'm going to do is, let's see here, if I draw the piece down there, you can see the pieces down there. Here's my little foot. And then so this is 60 millimeters. So I'm going to go in and at 20 millimeters, I'm going to draw a line, right? So I took 60, divided it by 3, I got 20. So now I got this line here, right? And then I'll draw another one over here. Another 20. So this is 20, 20, and 20. So that's my 60 millimeters, right? So this is the beauty now of doing a Roman ogee. Watch how simple this is going to be. So I'll mark out here where I want the top or my face of this piece to be when it's going to be done. So that's about where it's going to be done. So if I take a look at this 20, I know that it's, let's say that that's there and that other 20 is there, right? Well, if I take this platter and I just simply go like that, I turn that shape into it, right? I've turned that shape into it. So now I've got a sharper edge. All I'm going to do then is I'm going to mark the halfway point. So now if I know this is heavy math, but if I do this and I got 60, I know that I got my halfway there. That's my reflection point. So that's at 30. Now all I got to do to get that perfect Roman ogee is cut that little piece off. See how easy that was? I took a piece, I divided it by 3, I made my first cut so that I made a cut that looked like this onto it, found the middle of that, and then simply shaped it into there so it matched in. And that's how I get the perfect Roman ogee on the bottom of all this. Does this make sense to everybody? So there's a lot of side comments about, I'm going to guess it's a company. But what do you guys think? Is that an easy way of getting a Roman ogee? And then all I got to do once I got that done is I can then round over this foot here. I can give myself a little bit of a round over here and a round over, round over this foot a little bit so that it's not as heavy. And that's how I got it. And I've got a simple, pure Roman ogee. So, Dean, can we go back to the front camera? So if you look at this piece, there's the Roman ogee on it. It goes down, and then it reflects upon itself at the halfway point. What I did was I cut this up this way first, and then I found the halfway point and rolled it. Does that make sense to everybody? It may make sense on something bigger. So like on this platter, let's see, I'll try to keep it at camera level, eye level. See the really nice Roman ogee? And I know people struggle with putting in a Roman ogee on something. It's not a hard thing to turn. This one simply started here, went up to a third of the way, and then found my halfway point and rolled it back the other way. It is a subtle Roman ogee. But that's how I do it on, let's see, that one's straight. Do I have one that's really, really obscure? No, that one's a different one. Maybe this piece. But you can see the Roman ogee in there. All right? So any questions, comments, concerns so far? Yeah, it is, Harold, it is exactly the Roman ogee router bit. That's exactly all that is. If you do a lot of theory on stuff, it's one of the most pleasing shapes. And so that's why I do it. So Dan, if you wanted to go back to the camera real quick, the one on the lathe. all I would do is take this here. I want to tighten this headrest up. Mark off where I'm gonna, my final height of the platter is gonna be, right about there. Mark off the 1/3 spot, 2/3 spot here. Put my marker. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to knock this out. And the easiest way to do this is there's no reason that I can't cut a straight line. I can start here and just cut right down to here and just knock this off straight. And then put a little subtle curve into it. And then when I get that subtle curve, which is this little curve that's into it, right? As I said, then the next step is we just find the middle of it. And then all we do is once we find the middle of it, we roll that into here. And that's how you get a perfect Roman ogee using not a lot of, I hate to say it this way, not a lot of skill. It's just a simple mathematics technique to give it to you. And it is one of the most pleasing things for a shape on a bowl or a platter. So do I have any questions on the shaping of the bottom of the bowl or on the platter or anything?
Is it a convenient time for a break?
You can take a break now. Yes, I can have a sip of my A&W lip here.
Do that giveaway?
Dean, do you want to do the first giveaway?
I sure can. Give me 1 minute to get that set up. And the first giveaway is 3 of the new platter hardware and 2 exotic stickers. Give me 1 second to get it set.
So, Dean, I assume you said that on air, right? The first giveaway is going to be the three of these things, 3 of the component sets.
It's not a pen, it's kit.
Oh, someone said they couldn't hear you, Dean. Sorry. So, if you didn't hear Dean, I'll just say it again. He said you can hear it. So what we're gonna give away is the first 3. The first giveaway are 3 of these sets, the component sets for actually making this platter, the plate holder, platter holder, jewelry holder, tool holder, whatever you guys want to. Display piece, whatever you want to call it,
And a sticker.
oh, and the valuable exotic blank stickers. So, Dean, what is the magic words?
Please. Thank you.
No, hold on. I gotta have that set. I lost it.
Okay.
I don't want to give you the word. I don't want to give the word until it's ready for it, because if it's not ready, then people will type it in to be angry.
Oh, I don't want that.
Yeah, we don't want people to type in words that they'll be angry.
All right, the word is plate.
So I assume you guys heard that the word is plate.
I will post it as well.
Plate.
Thank you.
There we go. We got our first one in.
Or PL and the number 8.
Yeah.
Oh, don't do that.
Oh yeah, David said the word should have been OG. Yeah, that would have been better. Wow.
I can't spell that.
It's a tough one.
We got to keep it simple for Dean.
Still only 5 letters. Actually, OG's only 4.
Yeah, see? I'm not the only one who can't spell it. And he can't hear me.
No, he can't hear you.
So we'll just take a couple more minutes.
You want something to drink?
I have my soda.
Okay.
I put it on the ground.
It can be on the. They can complain to their heart's content. No charge for complaining.
All right, Dean.
While we're waiting, Dawn has a question for you, Mark. Do you remember where you sent the picture of that new item you made there?
This thing? It was a text. It was a text message to her.
Okay, thank you.
It's a text message. If she needs it to be sent as an email, I can send it as an email. So we're only halfway through the fun.
Oh, good.
Ed, you can take it somewhere if you'd like into a photo studio.
Do a quickie, I think.
Oh, I see Kim is there. This is like Romper Room. I see Kim. I see Lee. I see Brian. Oh, Brian, I think I did reply to your email. You made me laugh when you asked about the MPG, making sure that, I assume this is the same Brian, that the MPG would not be impinging upon your daughter's shower. So that worked out great. That we could accommodate that. And you'll be we'll have the MPG a week early just for her. All right, Dean, tell me when we're ready to go for the next part.
It seems to have slowed down, so let me go draw it.
I hope I win. If you want to buff this out, you could just keep it and take pictures of it.
Actually,
it needs to be buffed out.
I can do that, as you know.
Yeah.
But you can have it too if you want it. If you're going to use it.
It'll go in my demos.
That's fine.
It will go in my demos.
That's fine. Be a good exercise for me to learn how to do that. I honestly have never turned anything like that.
It literally was 5 minutes of platter, and I think you can figure out that you could start to do. So as people were saying, I mean, you could color in, you could leave this maple, and then you could color this in, and all you would need to do then is if you got a little bit of color on this, just recut just a little bit off the top and stuff like that. You can do a lot of cool things with this. So I was excited about it. I hope that maybe if I'm a real good boy, Dawn could give me a couple more component sets. And
well, if you're lucky, you never know.
Our winner of the first drawing is Scroller Bill.
So Scroller Bill, you are the winner.
Congratulations, and send us your info.
So please, Scroller Bill, send your info to sales@exoticblanks.com. And basically it would be your mailing address, and they'll make sure that these things go out to you. And you're getting 3 of them, right?
Correct.
3 sets of them. So the only thing I would ask Scroller Bill is when you use them, please send some pictures so that we can accommodate it in one of the next shows. All right. So now let's talk a little bit about. I mean, I could turn that piece for you, but I think the cooler thing would be now is maybe to show you a couple different things, that kind of is more like how pen makers work, right? So it's fun to turn a traditional pen, but then the next thing that you get to do. So wait. So hang on, I'm going to read Kim's question real quick. Kim, you've got it perfect. Yes. You got it perfect on that one. All right, so David, I will do that real quick. So the question came up, someone who missed it, let me just reiterate this real quick on here. All I did was to mount it, I drilled a hole in the platter. I drilled a hole in the platter blank. I used a 7mm bit because that gave me the perfect part, the perfect hole for this piece on here. Cool part about an easy wood chuck is then all I did was I took out I took this part, I took the part right out of the easy wood chuck. I screwed this onto it. Only thing that I caution people on is I like to drill on a drill press as opposed to hand drilling in or drill on the, well, you can't really drill on the lathe on here, but drill on the drill press for doing it. So then when this looks here, you can see that this faces off perfectly and I don't have to worry about it. And so that's why I love the easy wood chuck for doing that I can take this off. If I have a couple of these things, I could face a couple of these things and let them all sit. I don't have to worry about pulling anything off my chuck on that one. So hopefully that answers the question. And did I answer everybody? Yep. All right. So let me talk a little bit about now that we got that technique down, let's talk about facing and the top of it. So there's a couple different ways that you can face these things. And one of them is the more traditional face on here. So if I take this piece and I'll move it to the front. Or you know what, Dean, can we go to maybe this back camera just for one chance on here? Here we go. Oh, right there. Just leave it right there. So if you look, there's a little bit of a lip on here. And so if I look at how I did this piece, I turned it in here and then I lipped it up. And so that gives your hand, you know, I don't want to be, you know, so into design on here, but what that gives your hand is it's a noticeable spot where the bowl or the platter starts and the rim starts. So you notice where it is. So it does give it here. This is the one that I wanted to do on here. This one, the rim technique on here, and leave the camera right there, Dean. I think this will work great. The rim technique on here was burned. So this was just burned. I took the rim, I burned it, and then I took a little bit of sandpaper. Now, one thing that I'm going to tell you on all the techniques that I'm going to do, let's pull up another piece here next. Let's do this one. So someone talked about tinting, right? And can I do something with tinting on my piece? And that was for the platter, the cake platter thing, or whatever we're calling it, that you wanted to experiment with color. Well, here's exactly what I did when I was experimenting with color. And I am not laying claim to this technique. This is once again another one of Jimmy Clue's techniques, but this is just trans tint. And all I did was I put denatured alcohol on the piece. I let the denatured alcohol flash off, which took maybe about 30 seconds, 60 seconds on it. Then I spotted some blue on there. I spotted some green on there. I spotted some yellow on there. And I just pressed it on and just got it all over the place on here. And then simply sprayed it with denatured alcohol that got my blend on here. And I just love, you know, that piece. I don't know if you guys have something in the comments whether you like this, but this is a great trans tint finish. And Ed, you have all these trans tints. This is simply, this one, I love the combination. It's the blue, the green, and a little splotches of yellow into it. And so that's how I did that one.
That's a little bit. It's not a white background of a wood. What kind of wood is that?
It's maple.
Is it maple?
Yeah.
Okay. Just a piece of information about Transtint. Recently, they were acquired by General Finishes. So if you're used to using Transtint and there's a color you particularly like, make sure it's still available. They changed some of the colors, and I had a gentleman this week tell me that the new bright green is not the same as the old green. So if there's something that you like, make sure that it is still the same product if you're ordering it. Sorry about that.
No problem. That's perfect. That's perfect information. So I talked a little bit before about utility on bowls and platters. So this one we talked already about. There we go. That's the little platter that we did and we talked about originally. Let me grab its complementary piece on this one. Same thing, just with a little bit bigger rim on here. My technique is the same. You can see here, I put a little bit of a dimple in here. I don't know why. It was just something I wanted to do. So this one's basically a flat bottom. This one's got a little bit of a dimple in there. So another thing that you want to be conscious of when you're doing this stuff, and I did this at a demo at my club a couple months ago. I did the back of this piece of walnut. I love this piece. It's got the Roman OG in it. Reflects upon itself. This was the demo piece that I did. But I was also conscious, notice when I was actually figuring out where I wanted to drill this and where I wanted to make the round, is my thought was if I did all the sapwood on one side, this wouldn't be as cool looking as if I had some sapwood on one side and some sapwood on the other side. So you can see here, I've got sapwood on both sides, and I think that just frames it a little bit better. And then I got the growth rings and all the pattern and stuff directly on the front, and kind of as close to the center as I could. I didn't want to, one thing for me is exact center kind of is not that exciting. I like to have stuff off just a little bit so I can see it. So if you guys have any comments about any of these platters on here, once again, simple piece of walnut. Nothing real complicated on it. We did the technique we learned earlier for how to face it and how to put it in here. Now, one of the things you can do is if you're as lucky as I am, and let me walk in front of you guys for a split second. This is another little piece of walnut that I did. And I would think to the common person, this might look like there's a lot of skill involved. And there's not. All I did was I used my EasyWood tool with the round cut, with the beading cutter on it. And if you look close, the bead just went into it. And then I moved it over. And then I moved it over. Then I moved it over. And then I did a last one here. I don't know if you can see it real well on the camera. Let's see if I can get it. Not really. They're right there. The last one here, I still beaded it, but I didn't cut out the center until I figured out where that bead was going to go. So then this way I could have these things to be, so it looked like I did a lot of math and I had everything centered. I didn't. I just simply started over here, worked my way down, didn't cut my center out until I put my tool there. And then I knew that if I cut that out, I would get something that looked kind of proportional on here. And so the cool thing about this one is it's just simple walnut. And I know a lot of people ask about what do I do on my finishes. On the platters that you've seen before, they're either lacquer or lacquer shot on them. This one, and I know you guys have this stuff, it's just simply Yorkshire grit. I just took Yorkshire grit. Yep. I just used the original Yorkshire grit on it, and I wanted to see how well the finish held up. I did this thing, I'm going to say, well, whenever EasyWood first came out with their beading cutter, so I'm going to say 5-6 years I've had this piece. And so that's the finish that I got on it. So the question comes up, is it food safe? Most of this stuff becomes food safe if you let it cure on there. There is a little bit of a wax, so this is simply mineral oil, beeswax, and abrasive powders. So it was a real simple, easy technique to get those beads on here. And you can see all I did was put it back on, turn my front. This one I didn't put that little lip on here. I let it roll over after I was done. So any questions on that one? And I'll tell you, here's one that I will tell you that everybody makes mistakes, so don't be embarrassed about it. This is one where when I was turning the inside of the bowl, I went past the outside of the bowl. And I keep this there just to remind myself, of the mistakes that you can make. Here's a technique that I learned from Nick Agar. And Nick had recently passed, but Nick was a phenomenal turner. And I don't know if you ever had the chance to ever watch Nick's techniques on here, but I took a class with Nick many years ago. And this is just simply, do you want to go back to this other camera, Dean? There you go. Perfect. This is simply a spray paint technique. And all I did was I turned this. I left the center in here. I did not turn the center. I sprayed. I got my basic pattern on here, sprayed it white. And then there's and you can get a lot of these paints at Michael's and stuff. This was a spider paint. And it just basically did spider webs. And so you spray paint over it, but leave that all there. And then when I've got all that paint on there, then finish the inside. That's what gives me these really nice, easy, clean cuts. And it actually looks like this is almost a piece of ceramic that's inset on the piece. Yep, I've made a funnel. Yeah, crackle paint. Crackle paint would work great on here. And then when I took Nick's class, I did this one, and I was very proud because then Nick made a couple of these on his website where I did it double. I put this in, and then I used the beading tool in here, so you can see there's a bead cut in here. And so I did a double bevel on it. So it looks like a piece of ceramic, then the piece of wood again, and then another piece of ceramic on here. This one's more of a bowl shape. With a little bit, you can see the little light reflecting in here. When I remounted it up, I put a little bit of a bowl shape into it. But once again, it's a very simple technique using paints. And so this is just painted and then colored and then use that spray paint. I would encourage anybody who's going to be doing any of this stuff to take a walk and just go to Michael's and just walk through the paint aisles in Michael's. All right, good. Harold's not going to go to sleep tonight. Well, as long as you don't have my phone number and can't text me tonight, Harold, I think we'll be fine. So two other things that I'm going to talk about is here's a piece of maple that's already been, the backs are done. And I probably have 10 or 11 of these sitting at my house where I've got a full first coat of finish on it, but not a final coat of finish on it and buffed out and things like that. And then this way, when I come up with a new idea for what I want to do, I can simply not worry about doing the whole platter. I can simply and I leave it thick. So if I want to do something deeper on here, and so someone's going to ask, Mark, what deeper thing could you do on here? This is one that I just was playing with. It's not finished, so you can see it's kind of halfway finished. I want to see what people think of this piece. Let me know. But what I did was when I put it back up here, I routed my rim. I didn't route my rim. I took my rim and I cut a channel in it. Then I painted it white. And then I simply found plastic M&Ms at, I think I found these on the web. Some of them are cool because I got the faces in them. I glued them on there. And then, look at this. Someone wants this to be possibly a demo at the MPG next year. I glued these little pieces in on here. And then using John's technique for casting that he's gone over numerous times, I cast this. And so I cast this in here. And so now all I got to do is, I didn't have time yet to put this back on my lathe and cut off some of the the casting and resin and stuff that I had here. But you can see here, you could do a lot of cool things with these rims just by using this technique. So how are we doing on time, Ed?
No, you got 7:16, so 45 minutes.
Okay. So
Can
let's
you talk a little?
sure, go ahead.
Here. Talk a little bit about selecting wood and how dry it has to be and so forth, so you don't have to worry about it warping after you're finished with this.
That's an excellent question. So Ed's question, if you guys didn't hear it, is wood selection. And so I will tell you this, flat out, probably my favorite wood to work with for doing decorative patterns on here, and we'll talk about everything else later, but for doing decorative patterns, I find maple is the easiest. Why do I do that? Because I can go to my wood store, I can find basically a 1.5 inch piece of maple at a good hardwood store, and you can get them up to 12 inches across, and I'm not paying a bizarre amount that I'd pay if I bought a bowl blank. Bowl blanks are expensive. All they did was they rounded it over for us. So I go to my hardwood store. There's a hardwood store by me in St. Charles that I can find maple, and I know that Dawn's got some maple that she just hasn't put up on her website yet. That is 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick. It doesn't need to be nearly as thick as some of the stuff that I've got here. I've got some of them that are thicker just because I know that I want to slot it in and put some cool things on there. I've done one where I slotted it in and then I took pictures and I cut pictures of my family and kids and stuff like that, and then poured the resin over it and then turned it on that one, and I had a piece on that one. So my favorite for doing most of my coloring techniques and all that other stuff is I'm going to want to use a blonde wood. So maple is my favorite wood for doing all my coloring techniques. As for how dry they are, I wind up picking mine up so I know that they're dry already. I don't have to go through the process of but what does that mean in general? I think that's, and you guys can help me a little bit better if you know offhand, but I think that's 5 to 7% of moisture in the wood or less.
Usually kiln dried.
Usually for me, it's usually all kiln dried stuff.
Yeah, that's what I would expect.
So I love it. And as I said, I've got about 10 of those ready to go. Even this piece of walnut was sorry, I'm gonna go to the front camera. This was all kiln dried on everything that I have there. So have I missed any questions? Dean, are there any questions that I've missed?
Not that I see of the recent ones. Nope, I think you're caught up. Since you're talking about bowl blanks, should we do our second giveaway? I've heard there's a bowl blank in the area that you can show. That's a giveaway.
Yes. Come for the fun, stay for the prizes. Maybe this is why Ed asked me about what kind of wood.
No,
So this is a maple bowl blank. And if it was me, I would then draw my circle round on here, take it to my bandsaw, cut it off so it's round. But did Dean already give you the word? Type in the word is bowl.
what a clever maneuver.
Shocker. Hey, that one I can spell.
That's an 8-inch block.
Yes.
We're going to get all our giveaways in this week for a change. We never get them all in.
I will take a minute to have a drink while we're all typing in the word bowl.
John Leaf, ready?
No, he's over there. He's just watching it on his phone.
Oh.
So he can see.
Oh no, John's I'm sure John's playing games.
Yeah. No.
He's not, he could be picking orders. He's just doesn't want to be anywhere near me.
Damn it, your demo.
He's in rapt attention.
Did you type in the word bowl, John?
I'm typing it in.
Okay, I'm watching to see if it pops up. So while they're doing that, let's just kind of go over some of the stuff that we were talking about. This new component set. This is Acadia, right, John? That's the wood on here.
Yep.
The wood on the acacia. This one are trans tints, so I just used trans tint on here. This one was simply spray painted, and then used it's called a web paint, and you spray it on here. You don't turn it till you finish off the inside on here. This one was done using the beading bit on here. So using the beading bit on here. This one was done with kind of a burning or a flame technique on here. Oh, and then this is sorry, there is another technique. If you look in here, there is some gilding cream. So there's some gilding cream on that one. So Dean, do you have a winner?
I was waiting for it to slow down, which I think it has. Our winner is
John Underhill?
I didn't see John's name. I think he was.
I don't think
messing
John
with
is
us.
watching.
Our winner is Chris Devers,
Oh, I can't win.
H8H.
I'm already a
I'll put it in the
winner.
chat.
Oh my gosh. For those of you who didn't hear it, John said he didn't need to play because he's already a winner.
I get to hang out with you guys.
All right. So are we ready to continue?
Go for it.
It's okay to talk about the tool for 1 minute. I need to talk about the tool. So I know that the cutter heads on here on the EasyWood tool system, this is normally the handle for the square, and this is the beading cutter on here. I'll tell you guys this: if you use the EasyWood tools and you use them a lot, there's a little screw that's in here, and I don't understand it. I know that I've talked to Chris and Christy, and people have talked about the little screw. Anytime that I've used the tool, every time that I'm done, I'll use fingernail polish remover, and I will literally take my tool and dip it in there. And I have a paper towel over here.
Take one picture.
Yep. And now notice that when I have this in here, all the little gunk is gone. So now I can just take the screw head in there, turn it, and I'm fine. So I'll tell you this: if you do this, and especially with pen guys, I know that well, let's just say you might not have ever had this, but if you've ever had a pen that you put a finish on and you put a CA finish on it and you want to take the CA finish off for some unknown reason, or you get a little bit of buildup or gunk in there, just simply take the tool, dip it in fingernail polish remover, and then it clears it all out. And this is all my tools. I don't know if you notice, all my tools, I have a hook on here. And if you've ever seen my workshop, I've got racks standing above me, closet racks. And I buy the ones from Home Depot that have the little arches around them and the little piece around them that give me a 1-inch gap in between. And then I put these hooks on there. And then this way, this will hook right into the closet racks behind me. And I never have to worry about the cutter heads hitting into each other because they're always spaced 1 inch apart on it. So
Mark, you should mention that it not only the purpose of the cleaning is to make sure that there's no gunk in the hole. Now, people will start trying to get that screw out before they clean it. And once you have ruined the screw, it becomes a whole lot harder to fix it. So, this is not something that you should do only after you've had amazing lack of success. You should do this before you try to get that screw out.
I literally, yeah. So I hope everybody heard that off camera. With the screw on here, this is not, the post cleaning is not after you tried to get the screw out. It's where you do it, and I literally have the fingernail polish remover next to my lathe, and every single night when I'm done, I dip it in there to make sure that it's clean.
And that's the
And
right way to do
and I
it.
never have to do.
But it just doesn't happen very often.
No, and
Even if you're turning something that's stabilized or has a lot of glue on it, you'll get buildup on the cutter head. So I'll just drop it in a fingernail, or what do you call it, a prescription bottle with acetone.
Yep.
during the turning
So
process.
those of you who can't hear John off camera, is even if you're turning stabilized wood or something like that that has something inherent nature in the wood, and you get a little buildup on here, always, always, always just dip it in, clean it out, wipe it off, and I do it every single night. You should not have to put. If you take that Allen wrench and you see yourself working it too hard, you didn't clean it the right way. The when you put the cutter head in, you don't also crank it down. You simply put it in, screw it around. Once you're sure you're tight, little click after that, and that's it. It's not a big turn for me after that.
That's a very good point. Thank you.
So, and Harold says it makes your tools smell all lemony. The other thing that I do, and I don't want to,
Holy Harold.
on this one, I wouldn't worry about it as much. But let me give you on my round cutter. I've talked about this before. I'll put a little piece of tape on here, and then I'll put a number down that the first one's the number, and then when I did it. So this first number, when I put my cutter head on the, let's see if I get it right there. When I put my cutter head on, I always put the EWT on the top. And then when I go to rotate it, I put a little mark down here so I know how many times I rotated it. Because if you're keeping it clean the way I keep it clean, you'll never know. And so when I get to 4, I know that I've rotated it 4 times. I always, 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 when I'm using this tool, you've heard me do this on other demos here, is I will always rough cut when I'm here, when I'm roughing out a piece. I'll have the tool here, and then when I want to get a clean edge and do a little finer cut on, even on my bowls and platters, I'll take the tool and I'll rotate it about 45 degrees when not up and down, never up and down, but sideways, so that I'll get this fresh edge over here to be cutting this. And then when I rotate my cutter head, I always rotate it counterclockwise. So the edge that has a little bit of work on it now goes to the part that's going to be doing the roughing out part on, and a fresh edge will always come up on it. And so I'll keep a piece of tape on here. I'll mark a little knock on here so I know exactly how many times I've turned it. When I get to 4, I throw it away. Or actually, I'm going to say one thing. I don't throw it away. When I get to 4, I keep this cutter head, and when I got to turn deer antler, or I got to turn something that's going to beat the heck out of this cutter head, and I don't really want to care about that cutter head much anymore, I'll use that. I've got 2 or 3 that have been beaten to death. And so when I'm going to turn deer antler, I'll do the 99% of cutting my deer antler with the cutter head that's been beaten to death, and then I will freshen it up and do my final cut that way. So once again, I hope I've answered all your questions on the tools, on the techniques. So I've got one last thing that I want to talk about, one more platter. And I think this is going to be the one where I want to show you a little demonstration on it. And this once again, as I said earlier, some of the techniques that I've done, like the M&M one clearly is mine, some of the other stuff, but I'm trying to give credit to the people where I did it. If you guys get a chance and you ever want to look at platter making, go on, what's the one? YouTube is a good one. What's the website? Pinterest. Go on Pinterest and type in platters. And you will not believe the things that people do. Now, I am not by any means saying go in and just copy someone else's work and then take it off as your own. The ones that I have here, I don't sell. These are just things that I've done for myself, for my friends or my family members. Obviously, the M&M one and some of that other stuff, I do sell. But I'm not saying lay claim to it. But you know what? There's always design and variation, theme and variation. And that's always a good way to pick up some techniques, some of the things that you can do. I've got a couple where I've simply taken the platter and I go to I use spray paint on it, and I've spray painted the rims and stuff like that. But this one was a great technique that I learned from. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Tim Yoder's on. He used to have a channel, a TV show on Channel 11, and he used to do techniques. And I've seen him do it at events. Tim's a great guy, and he did this technique, and I love this platter. So I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a great chatoyancy. It's got, just enough, a little bit of a color variation on here. And I'll tell you, this is not nearly as hard as you think it is. And there's actually something that Tim talks about that I'll show you that we can take this one a step further. So if you guys want, instead of doing some turning on here, I'll give you an idea on how I make this platter. So what I did was I took a piece of wood and I've turned it. I took a piece of maple, I turned it, I put it on the front part of my lathe, locked it in on the back, and then I simply spray painted it black. And I left the center in there when I spray painted it black. Okay, so it's just a flat piece of wood. I gave myself a little bit of my rim and stuff so I knew where it was. I put a little bit of a nick part into it so where I knew where it was going to bend down. And then I spray painted the whole thing black. Then, and I'll show you this in 1 second. I wanted to give myself, so I spray painted this whole thing black. See that there's a little bit of a differentiator here, and here where it's back into the wood. So I'm building a frame. And you think, well, that's got to be a real hard technique to do. It's not. I simply took my point tool, and you see that it fits in there perfectly. And I spun it, took my point tool, and I spun it. And I tried to make this distance here about the same as this distance here. So painted the whole thing black, then nicked this in. And then all I do now is I'm going to use blue painter's tape before I apply the pattern that I want in here. And so you can see I did the outside already, but see if you see the inside here where I've got it. I don't know how well you can see it. So I painted over where that indent is here. And now I'm simply going to take my fingernail. And you can see here, I'm going to... So, Dean, can you zoom in kind of close on this one?
Would it be better on the other camera? Mike?
Yeah, you know what? Go to the other camera, please, Dean. So you can see here what I did was I took my fingernail and I ran it around the ridge on the inside. All right, so Dean can go back to the outside, the front camera. And now I'm just simply going to take an X-Acto knife. And I am going to trace that line. Now, the thing about this is, I'm not as worried as you think if I got a little bit of an overspray. I know when Tim teaches this technique, he just leaves it. He doesn't even worry about it. And he just relies on talent and skill to make sure that he's not putting paint into the ridge area. But the cool part about this technique is, I can just pull this up, is let's say that by chance I did get a little bit of paint in the ridge or the rim when I'm going to be doing this. It doesn't matter. All I'll do is when I'm done with it, remount it back up here, take my point tool and just clean that out. Spin it and clean it out. And that's how I would get it. So you can see here, we'll just do this one spot over here where I've got this really, really clean area, right? And so I know that what we're going to do is we want to put a little bit of paint on there. These are called let me get the paint for you and what I'm going to use. And I'm going to do, let's see, I'll do the purple or the blue. So these are Josana paints. Blue. Yeah, let's do blue. This is Josana. You know what, Dean? You want to go to this one? I know Michael's used to carry it. I know you can get it definitely on Amazon.
You get a Dick Flicks.
Dick Blick. Yeah, there's another good one. Oh yeah, have you tried this technique? Yeah. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to use a mixing tray. So I'm going to use perfect. Thank you, Dean. A mixing tray. And then I'm going to use a little bit of the Josana paints. And then I'm going to use flow improver. I was going to say you can insert your own joke at that point on that one. But this is a flow improver. And I'm going to mix an equal amount of the paint into the flow improver into the paint. And then all I'm going to do is dab that on the piece. And then, if you're lucky enough, you can use an airbrush.
Should use a straw.
I got that. That's my next. Don't jump me.
Okay.
You can use the airbrush to push this around, to push the paint around. Or, as someone in the background just jumped me on it.
The problem of having a smart audience.
Yeah.
I just want to see him hyperventilate and pass out.
You can use a straw and you just blow it. So same thing. So let's do this one and let's take a look at it. I'm only going to do it in one area and then we'll go to questions and comments. So I'm going to take a little bit of the iridescent blue. I'm going to put it a pretty decent glob.
Mark, is that platter in your way? Big one in front there.
I don't know if you can, yeah, okay. I don't know how well Dean's going to be able to get into it. And then I'm going to just take a little bit of the flow improver. And it's, for me, it's about a 1-to-1 ratio. And use anything I can to mix it. Oh. And I know what I forgot. Normally I bring Q-tips, but I forgot Q-tips. So what I'll do is I'll just use a toothpick, and I'm going to get a pretty decent glob on here and just going to get some of it up on here. Then I can put it, just in different spots on here. I'm trying to do this fast because I don't want this to dry up. So you can see, I'll just talk it in a second. So I put it on 2 different spots. Then I can just use my airbrush to come into here.
Cheater.
And do that. Or I could take my straw. I actually find that I like the straw technique better.
Control, yeah.
I get much more control. And the cool thing about the straw technique, Dean, am I down far enough?
Tilt it back a hair. There you go. Well, not that much.
Not that much. You're getting
There you go.
There you go.
Sorry, I can't see because the Exotic Blanks logo is in the piece.
Yeah, he should find you.
You want to go back to the front camera. Oh no, you know what? Go to the side camera, please. Thank you. Right here. And then all you do is mix it around. And then you just do it in spots all over the place. And then, as I said, on this piece, I did the blue up here. And you can see, as John pointed out, if you do the stroke technique, it does keep some of that white in here. And then so I did this here, then I did some green, then I did a violet.
You could almost start with white and then come in the center with a green or a violet.
Come on in.
Make it look like flowers.
Come on in, John.
No, I'm good.
Violet over here. Violet over here. So John also points out, I mean, you could, say it again?
You could
Oh,
put
yeah.
the white down and then come in the center of the white and blow colors through the white like flowers.
Yeah, so if you put white down in the center and then you put colors around it and you blow it all the way out, it would make it look a little bit more like flowers.
Yep.
But I mean, for a technique, it's a very simple technique. We didn't do a lot. You know, I hate to say it this way, but Dean, you want to go back to the front camera? Most of the stuff and you want to go up towards me a little.
Nope.
You're gonna
Not
trip
for you.
on your cord there, pal.
I'm gonna what?
Your
Trip on
airbrush.
your
Oh
airbrush.
shit.
Don't get caught.
I think all the techniques that we do here are things that a pen turner should be very comfortable with, right? And it's theme and variation, right? As a pen guy, you know, we always make the first wooden pen and then we always go, what can we do? Well, we can learn to cast. We can learn to do hybrids. We can learn to do a whole bunch of other little things. Well, this is the same thing, right? We can make a bowl or a platter like the first one that I did. Something simple like this. And then we can, after that, we can then go into doing colors, or we can do, you know, rim techniques on here. That rim on these pieces, to me, it's a whole cool area of stuff that we can do to give another gift to someone that we gave, you know, if we gave them a pen a couple years ago, now we can show them that we can do something else. I love all these techniques. I really am excited about doing more of these platters, but I'm going to look in the comments. Hopefully this could be, as they said, a whole class. You know, this is probably a whole 90-minute class on just one of the topics. The thing that Ed always tasks John and I with is we would rather see breadth than depth. So we want to give you an idea of where you can go, where you can take it, and then you guys decide how far down you want us to drive. And if there was another topic that you wanted us to talk about or do in the future or something like that, we could do it off some of the topics that we have here. But so what I wanted to give you is breadth across the board of what we're going to do. And so we talked about how to do the Roman ogee. We talked about how to mount the piece on there. We talked about how to do the turning technique. We talked about the depth on everything. Then what we did was we talked about rims and started to color rims. And we talked about, should the rim go, you know, on certain pieces, the rim has a little bit of a flare up. So you notice where the rim starts and the center starts and the rim ends. We talked about other ones where it's purely for design. And so I think there's a lot of stuff that you can do with it, but we were just touching on the surface on here. And once again, a lot of these are just my techniques. If you can find better ways of doing it, please let me know. So where am I at on time, Ed?
You got 15 minutes.
Well, we got 15 minutes. I would rather than we've got one more giveaway, but let's take any kind of questions or comments. Can that airbrush Treasure says, could that airbrush technique be used on pens? I have actually done it. John is nodding his head on there. Yeah, you can. I will warn you. The only thing that I had to learn, and I learned it the hard way, is because we don't have as much surface on here. Do the blue or whatever color you're going to do, and then let it sit. Let it sit half a day. Let it sit a whole day. Let it sit on here. Now, when I'm doing something like this, there's not a lot of overlap. And I found that when I was doing this and I was blowing colors into the next color, I would have a little bit of a problem with the colors blending or bleeding too much on a pen. But it's a great technique, and I don't want to touch. So you can still see if you look real close. I just touched this area, and it's still got a little bit of wetness to it. So if you're going to do it on a pen, it works great. Technique works great. Just let the pen dry in between doing the colors, so do spot colors on it. What
When
other
you're finished with that, when you're finished with that technique, Mark, do you put some kind of an overcoat on it?
Oh, excellent question. So when I'm done with this technique, and do I put an overcoat on it? Any guess what I spray it with?
Oh, let's see, lacquer shot.
Lacquer shot. I didn't on this. This was before lacquer shot. This was just pure
Mhm.
lacquer.
Mhm.
Yeah, then do you seal it? I will use lacquer on it. If anybody notices really close up
Mhm.
here,
Mhm.
this is the wildest thing, and this is kind of embarrassing. Most of the time when I do something, I always think the first time I'm going to do it, it's not going to look that good. So I used a bigger piece of elm. I wasn't really excited about it. And then I showed this at a demo, and I heard kaboom, and I looked, and there was someone in the back going, trying to, and they had dropped it on its edge. So these are my demo pieces. So you will see nicks and flaws and stuff like that. So I do a lot of stuff for proof of concept, and then sometimes I'll go back in and redo it for a second time on the things that I do. So I'm gonna kind of step in. You guys want to come back in and step in front on questions?
Sure,
Right behind you.
right behind me. Uh-oh. Shove over. We'll just move everybody over, and that way you're taking the stuff that's on the floor, which I knew we would step on.
So it says, Mark, do you use? You may have missed it. You didn't miss it. Thanks for the point. I didn't bring it up. So when I'm doing the paints on here, on any of this stuff, for the paint color, I will use flat black. And I'll tell you, I get it from Home Depot. It is the cheapest flat black that you can use. Because 90% of it,
Hey, you're gonna cover it.
you're going to cover.
Yeah.
So I will just use the, I'll use flat black on it, and then I'll let lacquer shot pop the color on it when I'm done.
Looks cool.
So I like it. And if you look at it, you can see it kind of on camera.
It's got a good
There's
shimmer.
cool iridescence to it where you'll see it picking up other things. And I think I did this one at a club once, and so I know you've started to play with this stuff too.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Any other questions, comments? Because we got one more giveaway, right?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Mark,
we do.
did you answer? There was the speed question, and Chris asks about gloss versus not gloss paint.
I just talked about the gloss versus not gloss. What was the speed question? I didn't get it.
They asked what speed you turn your platters at.
Oh, that's always an excellent question. Yeah. As John, do you want to explain how that works?
Go
No,
ahead.
you can do that one.
Well, not everybody pays attention to the LED readout, and so some ways don't have them. And we heard a demo once, and somebody asked that question of Dick Singh, and the first thing he said, he turned and looked, and he hummed what the lathe would sound like. He says, I turned it at about So now that's become one of our jokes.
But you know what? I'll tell you this. This is going to be a non-answer to the answer, but I do want to get it. I will slow the lathe down a lot when I'm roughing out on my bigger pieces. This won't go more than probably 1600 RPM, somewhere in that range when I'm roughing out something that's a little bit bigger. When I'm doing the finish cuts, I'm going to put the lathe on whatever I feel most comfortable with as a speed. Because what happens is the less resistance I can have on that piece, the easier that cut's going to be and the cleaner that cut's going to be. So I will rough things out. And there are charts that you can find on the web and stuff like that. But I'll rough most of my stuff out at between 1200 RPM to 1500 RPM on the bigger stuff.
Well, and then it comes down to what tools are you using. If you're using traditional, you can only turn it as fast as your tools are going to cut it. So you have to find that happy medium.
So the next one is, do you have any where you blended the colors instead of letting them dry in between? No, I don't have any here. I've played with them. This one is using the trans tint though. Excellent point. This one's using the trans tint where I blended the colors on here and I didn't let them dry. I just put them on and then dabbed them on with either a piece of cotton or anything I wanted to dab it on. These are literally trans tints, and I don't do any. I don't cut them with anything.
You don't.
Nope. The
That's the way it came out of the bottle.
yeah, and
Wow.
I do it with but I did do the what did I say? Not the lacquer thinner. Yeah, basically like a lacquer thinner that I've coated the board. I've coated the board with that,
Okay.
and then let that go in, and then I've got a spray bottle. Denatured alcohol. Yeah, sorry, that was what I meant. I'll spray it with denatured alcohol. I'll let it flash off, and then I'll put it on, and then I will. It'll look really plain and boring, and then when you hit it with denatured alcohol again, it's going to let these colors just blend a little bit more. It won't be as sharp as when I put it on.
There is, now that they've merged with the other company. Thank you, General Finishes. They have come out with a product that is meant to be mixed with Transtit. I have not used it, so I'm not telling you it's a good product yet. But obviously, we will be getting it and finding out how does it merge and how does it work and so forth and so on. But generally speaking, you can use denatured alcohol. You can use actually pretty much anything that will cut it. And of course, the faster it flashes off, the better it will work out for you.
And so, David, I agree with you 100%. Go with whatever you're feeling comfortable. Oh, let me point something out. You know what, John?
You want to get through?
Yeah, let me come over here.
You know,
I got something that I was meaning to show and I didn't show it. And let me find it in my tool bin. So how many people here,
no, that's fine. Doesn't matter.
this will help you a lot, David, too. How many people here, I know that I pitch this when I do my demos with Ed. This is the turn between centers mandrel system. And I pitch this a lot with Ed. What I do is I found these are on Amazon. You guys, I'll let you know where they are. They're like a rubber washer.
Oh,
And then I'll
I
put
think they're
this
for test
on
tubes.
here. Yeah, they're for test tubes.
tubes for putting your.
I'll put this on here. And then when I mount this on my lathe, I can actually put this up against there. And it's a lot less.
Yeah, it doesn't mar
It doesn't mar it, and it's a little bit. I don't know. I haven't seen anybody else using this way. And so I'll use, because I'm a pen maker, I know I have one of these. I'll put this up there, and it gives me just a little bit more feel that I'm safer with anything. This can't come off. This can't come off the thread.
Yeah.
And this has got that little thing still there. So I'll just put this on here, and I use the live center part of it to do it. So hopefully that answered your question, or gives you just a slightly better way of feeling safer about what you're doing. And I demoed it in my class, in my club that way. Because then I push this back up here. And I know the pros in the class go, you don't need to do that one. I agree 100%. You don't need to do it. But if it makes me feel better, or you're comfortable with it,
It's a great idea
Do
for
it.
this with students.
yes. It's a great way. It makes it safer.
Yep,
The
makes it
piece
a lot
can't,
safer.
the piece can still crack off, but it can't spin off. And I would say most of the people have problems with spinning off because they'll make a catch and that the piece will jar. You don't have to worry. If you put that on there and you press it on there, and the nice thing about it is, depending on the pieces you use, I've got one of these things that are pretty big. It might be like an inch and a half and stuff like that. So I can mount it either way on here, and I get a nice press onto what I'm doing. So, yeah, David, I agree. I use this turn between centers mandrel for a million things that I hadn't thought about.
more information.
So last giveaway, a caliper and stickers. So I found this when I was doing it up here with, I was walking past. So this caliper, you can see here, right? It's
come in this way, then
Yeah,
you
it's
somewhere
fine.
where it
It's
can-
fine.
be seen.
But this one is going to be one of the ones that are in millimeters. And as I said, the thing that I like about doing millimeters is it made it real obvious, right? When I had 60 millimeters and I wanted to divide by 3, it's real easy. I can just go, hey, even if it was 58, I'd go, hey, Alexa, what's 58 divided by 3? If you go, hey, Alexa, what's 2 7/16 divided by 3, she's going to give you 0.7893. Well, that doesn't do me any good because I can't tell. So if I do that and I just get the numbers, the millimeter caliper is so much better for me. It just makes life a lot easier for everything that I do.
We're getting a good crowd.
A lot of people want caliper and stickers. Uh-oh. Alexa, play Van Halen on volume 10. Someone said their Alexa is chirping now at their house.
Do you know you can change that name?
Yes.
Sure you can.
So one of my better friends one of the friends that we had at the AAW, the assistant was named Alexa, and John and I were doing a demo out of my basement for the AAW, and we're practicing. We had it on the call, and we're practicing with Jen, and we're working on camera angles and stuff like that. And I would go, so Alexa, how's it going? And she'd go, my thing would go, I don't understand the question. And so I would go, so I would talk, I would call her A or something like that. So yeah, you can't change the name because she told me that because I asked how did she have one at her house.
Am I typing something?
Oh yeah, there you go. I won't say that out loud. So we'll let this go, and then I'm gonna ask. Let's do this last giveaway, and then I'll ask if anybody has any comments, questions. Sincerely, I'd like to know what you guys, if this one was of value, because we're always thinking about how do we think outside of the box. It's easy to do pens, but every couple months we're going to want to do something a little bit different. And when Dawn tasked me with this thing, I thought this would be perfect to do them all.
Yeah, my alerts are going crazy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I promise I won't say any more about that name. We've got 6 of them sitting around the house, so that's always a challenge.
Here comes our winner.
And the winner is?
Anthony in New Jersey.
Oh, nice. Anthony from New Jersey. So a couple questions. When is the MPG? I think I covered that one. What did I say? It's the 16th and 17th of April next year. We're going to be doing it at a new hotel. The new hotel is about 15 minutes directly north of
We'll find it and make sure.
294. On 294 directly north of O'Hare, so it'll be easier to get to. What
He
other
cheats.
stuff?
He puts away his notes.
Towards Northbrook more?
Yeah, it's in Northbrook. It's the Marriott Northbrook, I think it is.
Oh, okay.
Exotic Blank says type cake on the site, and you'll find this little mechanism for this one. As I said, it's not going to come with. I don't believe it comes with instructions. If you're doing it, I would probably use a little bit less. I'd still use the 1/16 depending on the chuck that you're doing, but to have it chuck in. But the cool part about it is, if you do this stuff, let me know. Oh, Anthony, if you're going to be, I can bring that with me. If you want to save the shipping on the last thing that was won, it looks like he's going to the AEW. I'll bring it.
We'll see.
All right. Anthony, if you want to send it to Dawn, they'll still send it. Someone asked a long time ago about moisture content level to stabilize wood. Not sure who, but I don't recall getting a verbal response. Well, John, you're much better, and Ed, you're much better at stabilization of wood. What do you guys want to take that topic for me?
You're stabilizing at zero moisture.
At the point that you're stabilizing.
Yes. You have to cook it in the oven and get all the moisture out of the wood before you stabilize it.
Right, but then for turning,
But
Wood's-
turning, yeah,
wood in the low single digit percentage
yeah,
is fine enough for turning.
6-7%.
As I said, for me, it's usually between 5 and 7% on a platter.
Well, your question was what moisture level to stabilize wood, and the answer to that is 0.
Yep.
When you get wood prepared for stabilizing, you put it in a heater, any kind of a heater, but it's good if it's not your kitchen, but you can, and then take the weight and check the weight every 2 or 3 hours. And when it's the same 2 times in a row, you've reached as close as you're going to get to 0 moisture. And that's at the point that you can start to put it into the cactus juice.
Let it cool first.
Exactly.
Yeah, put it in a Ziploc bag. You let it cool so you don't jump start the curing process.
And by the way, if you're doing redwood, be particularly concerned about it getting warm, because redwood will harden the cactus juice if it gets too warm.
Yeah.
You know, David, I agree with you if you're going to do that one. But if seriously, go to something smaller. Turn something like this. You know, do a smaller platter and you can grow into it. You know, or even the platter that I did here. The cool part about it is it gives you a whole bunch of different, or even this. This one's very simple. This one was just take my square tool and cut that in. So, and if you use it and you use that grip on the other side, you won't have a problem.
If you're trying to get the moisture out and you char the piece, you're too hot.
Yeah.
The answer that you should be looking for, if you're getting it ready for stabilizing, and I do a lot of it, a good temperature is 215 degrees.
Yep.
215 is the boiling point of water approximately. And so it will take the water out of the product and you won't have to worry about it getting too wet. Also, it's nowhere near 400 and something, which is the ignition point of wood. So you're in fine shape. You've got a lot of room for mistakes there, but do use something where you can actually tell what the temperature is.
Right. Yeah.
One of the problems
don't rely on the gauges that come with whatever
toaster
heater you
oven.
use.
Yeah,
There.
the toaster oven that says it's going to be 200.
I'll be honest. I don't like the toaster oven, especially the short, narrow ones, because you're too close to the elements.
Exactly.
So when I watch you use those upright ovens, and I wound up buying the smoker.
Yep.
It's just an electric smoker, so basically the same thing, just not as many coils.
And then when you guys had to have one, I had to go out and buy one too. So I've got one now.
And I bought.
I think Randy's got one.
I bought the little thermometer temperature gauge you put in the oven that just hangs on the rack, and that way I can see what the actual cooker says, but I can see what's going on inside.
That's right.
And I set mine at 220. That way I make sure it doesn't go over 220.
Yep. Yeah, well,
There's been
that
some
was
great
designed to do it, and I have a thermometer on every rack, each level,
Sure.
so that I can check it from time to time just to make sure that the bottom isn't significantly hotter than the top. The top is where you see your temperature gauge.
Yep.
So you want to make sure control the temperature. Don't. And I have had more. Actually, I've had 2 fires doing stabilizing, so I'm very familiar with how it can go wrong.
So we'll get to the questions in the order. One of the questions comes up is when you say that you've dried the wood or you've got kiln-dried wood and it sits to you and it sits in a garage, does it absorb moisture? Just curious.
Yes.
It does, but not nearly as frantic.
It's not going to take as long to dry it,
right?
But it's still going to absorb humidity.
Let it come back up to room temperature.
Yeah.
Let it sit in your room, and you're going to be fine.
I take it out of the oven and I put it in a Ziploc baggie.
Oh,
and I seal it and I let it come to room temperature in the baggie.
Okay.
That way it's not. And then if I don't stabilize it today, it's good tomorrow.
All right.
I thought he was talking about just the maple pieces and stuff that I use. I don't. I will let them come back up to room temperature as they're sitting there, and I'll hit them with a moisture meter, and I'm usually fine with it. Someone said, "Hey Ed, you should think about selling bowl blanks and joint compound as a package deal
Okay.
in case in case the bowl flies off and hits your
Yeah,
drywall.
your drywall.
Drywall.
Then you can patch your walls.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you recommend a lab oven? I like the ones we got at Menards. So that's
It all depends on how deep you're going to get into it. If
Yeah,
it's something you're
exactly.
going to do all the time, and you've got the money to invest, sure.
Yes, I have a lab oven, and they are wonderful. But by the same token, do you need it? Absolutely
Yeah.
not. The smoker that we have will come close enough, and again, put a thermometer in it.
Yeah.
Don't be
Yeah,
silly.
for what like $200 I think.
Yep.
$180, $200, and it's got 4 or 5 shelves in it.
well.
I put everything in a foil container when I slide it in there like a roasting pan.
Yep.
So it's not sitting on the rack itself. And that way it keeps everything clean.
So and if it's $225 at Menards, which I think it is, for $235 you have that and a piece of this.
Right.
Nathan Wick is on the call, and he said, yeah, he's done the same thing too.
Be careful with the toaster oven. I will tell you from experience that if that cactus juice gets on the element
The
of
core.
the toaster oven, you are set for a fire. So be aware that you want to make sure that you have something. The way this originally was shown, 1,000 years ago when cactus juice came out, the process was to take your blanks and put them into aluminum foil and twist it and so forth until each individual blank was completely encased in the aluminum foil. Then you put the next one in and twist one more time and so forth and so on. That works because you have everything enclosed and you don't have to worry about it ever hitting the element. Now, those of us who do more than 3 at a time are not going to screw around with all that. So what we go to is putting it on a grate. If you put it on that grate and then put some kind of a pan underneath it on the grate of the toaster oven so that you're off that and you have some place for it to drip that's safe, then you have a 99% chance of nothing going wrong. Bear in mind, all the stuff that you're doing, if you can avoid doing it inside your house, it's smarter. If you have to do it inside the house, pay attention to it, for Pete's sake. Don't just put it in there and hope everything goes well. 99% of the time, it will. The other 1% of the time, I've had twice. So, but I do an awful lot of this. So I'm not trying to scare you out of it. Just trying to tell you, don't be too cocky that this is all going to work just perfectly. It will most of the time.
Or just go to Home Depot, buy kiln dried lumber, turn it the way I'm doing it, and everybody's
Well,
happy.
yeah, if you're doing this, absolutely, kiln dried lumber is the answer. Doing anything, stabilizing anything is only a last resort.
Right.
I mean, there's no reason why you need to stabilize most wood. I turned an awful lot of wood before stabilizing was available.
Mm-hmm.
So, it can be turned. That's one of the things that you can do with CA. Instead of having stabilized pieces, if you use CA and put it on as you're turning it,
Sharp tools, light cuts.
you accomplish the same thing without having to do anything
Mhm.
fancy to it. So, and you start a finish at the same time these days because you can then go to your CA finish and you've got it pretty well started out.
Yep.
So,
There's only so many woods that I'll stabilize, and Buckeye's usually where the top ones,
yeah.
because it's so soft and porous, or anything punky. But
Well, and the other choice that they always have is if you have a good friend that you could say, hey, can you stabilize this for me and bring it to me next week? That's always a good option.
Here, Ed, here's a big bag of corn cob.
Yeah.
Are you on it?
Oh no, I got some.
Oh, look at that. AI says that there are between 1,300 and 1,500 home fires every year by toaster ovens.
Wasn't that special?
So I used
Yeah,
oven.
but the good news is only 2 of those were for making blanks.
Yeah, right. Well, when I was about 16, I worked at a grocery store, and I watched one burn up one night with a pizza oven. You know, with a pizza in it. We were cooking pizza for break, and it just burst into flames. So
Greasy pizza.
those are the good kind, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? As I said, if you wouldn't mind also letting us know how this topic was for you guys, whether it was of value or other additional topics that you're looking for, always send us an email to sales@Exotic Blanks with some other additional topics. And for those of you who are going out to the AAW next week, please stop by. Please, I love chatting with people. Let us know. Let me know how things are going there, and if you could give me anytime being a mentor out there, that would be great.
We are particularly interested in feedback on this presentation because it's not spindle turning. And
Right.
we're interested in how many people are interested in non-spindle turning. So we'll think about what we do for the future. So all your feedback does get read. We appreciate it. Any other questions that we need to cover?
And as I said, I would really like it if they do send in pictures. I would love to see
Absolutely.
them, and we could put them. Dean, if you wouldn't mind,
Yeah.
before next month. Yeah, I think you've done that in the past, and we could then spin some of the pictures.
Yep, definitely be something better to watch than the little spinny clock at the beginning. We can do some stuff for ahead of time. Yep.
So Alexis, yes,
Alexis?
you can. Oh, go ahead.
Alexis, it's available immediately after it's done. You'll be able to start it from the beginning right away.
What mold do I use for clear label blanks? I use the vertical system. I do everything vertical.
And that would be the
Well, here at Exotic Blanks.
John Underhill casting system.
The vertical casting system that Exotic Blanks carries is what I use.
And there's a good there's a demo on that.
Well, and they have videos on their website on how easy it is to use. So,
and with it comes a thumb drive with 3 demonstrations by John Underhill on how to use it. So even if you pay no attention to anything else, if you take it out of the box and put the thumb drive in your computer, you're taught exactly what you should do.
Well, Anthony, I look forward to seeing you in person then.
thanks, Dave.
So any final comments, things that we should know? We don't have a topic yet for next month, but
It usually lets us know about a week prior. So.
Oh, if that. These guys are good. They shouldn't take more than 2-3 hours notice.
Shoot.
Come in ready to win it next month.
Yep. Yeah, we'll surprise you.
Okay.
So Dean, you see the question from Chris? That's it. Yep.
Got it.
Someone's gonna place an order, and we'll put that in there then.
How do I cut my pictures for the pen molds? With a razor blade and a straight edge.
I've got a whole.
So,
if
Anthony,
you're interested in that, I've got a whole. If you go on YouTube and you search 10 minutes for better pen making, I've got a whole. If it's okay to do that one, I've got a whole demo on how I take the picture, color correct it, size it to the label, wrap it around the brass tube, and everything. So it's 10 minutes to better pen making, and it's label casting.
And if you're familiar with the way to calculate the diameter versus the circumference, don't worry about it because he doesn't do it that way.
Right.
No, yep.
I've been thinking about.
You don't use proper geometry for that?
No.
It's one of my favorite things to ask people because they'll always go, it's 2 pi r squared minus what the hypotenuse, and I'll go, no, I take a piece of tape, wrap it around, put a mark across it, untape it, and then figure it out.
That's right.
Using a ruler.
Just cut the tape.
And the best part about it is once you have those parameters set in MS Word, You just apply it to every
Yep.
one of them.
Yep.
It's
Really?
it's like 2.38 by 1 point
6.9 or something.
something. Yeah, it's 4.3 maybe. I don't know. It's
And
very
Word keeps it.
well. No, I mean I have a note, but I just go up and just change it on the first one,
okay.
and then just copy and paste them all on there.
Okay.
So
Cool.
yeah,
Cool.
because I've been thinking about just shooting a quick one with the vertical system so that I can just show how I put them all in the rack and cast them, and so I'll probably put something together in the near future with labels also.
It'll-
Given
Okay.
that, it sounds like it's time for
I-
good night, Gracie.
Think we can say good night. Thank you all for coming, and we appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you next month. 4th Thursday. Whatever that turns out to be. Toodles.